on Tony Darrow's head and that sort of thing. He had the nerve to ask to pay the bill.
He's sick with that one, yo. Thank you for joining us on my catalog. Today, we're going to be checking out an iconic man that has made iconic movies. Martin Scorsese breaks down his most iconic films. And I love all of his films that I've ever watched. And I would like to believe I watched them all. So let's see. Maybe there's one or two that I haven't, but whew, iconic for real.
Yeah, he's very iconic.
Yeah, not iconic movies, but also he's iconic himself because he's got so many. This category was made for this guy.
Yeah, 100%. It's like the greatest hits, you know what I mean?
Yeah, it's like breaking down Michael Jackson's greatest hits, right? Yeah, it's like he's got so many. It's like how you gonna pick?
100%.
Taxi driver.
Well, who the hell else are you talking? Talking to me?
It really goes back to Brian De Palma's independent cinema in Hollywood started saying, hey, maybe these indie films, these kids could work in the industry. And so we were all out in LA, and he introduced me to Paul Schrader. Schrader wrote Taxi Driver. Travis comes from his vision, but more psyche. I connected with it through Dostoevsky's Notes from Underground. It was like enlightening, you know? And so for me, when I read the script, Brian gave it to me. He said, I don't want to do it. I can't do it, but maybe you should do it. But I didn't have enough cachet, as they say, at that time to make the picture. But then they saw the rough cut of Mean Streets, and they changed their mind, especially when they saw De Niro in it. And so they said, for the two of you, we could probably get this film made.
Why won't you talk to me? Why don't you answer my calls when I call? You think I don't know you're here?
We kept thinking in terms of the character and his loneliness and his acting out, not condoning the acting out, but he does act out, and yet an empathy with him, which is really tricky. We wanted to make it so badly nobody would make it that we were thinking of going to different cities to make it. San Francisco, the taxi driving, and we said no, it has to be Manhattan. Ultimately, what stayed with us was the psychological and emotional state of that character. As we know now, tragically, it's a norm. Every other person is like Travis Bickle now. For me, the visualization of the movie was to always try to keep you off balance, keep the audience off balance. I felt that when he made that phone call, it was so painful, we shouldn't witness it. So the camera should track away, but not pan away. It should move completely to a hallway. And in the hallway, you think somebody's coming, but nobody's going to come. Nothing's going to happen. We're all alone. But we don't want to experience the depth of his pain at that point. And at the same time, there's a sense of anxiety on the viewer. What's going to happen in the hallway? Well, apparently nothing. That was the first shot I came up with. So that's the style. There's another thing too, where the taxi pulls up at the beginning of the film into the taxi garage. Taxi is coming in, we're panning with it as it comes in. And normally it goes this way, and the camera would pan with it, and it stops. Well, as it came in, I went the other way. And as we rested, the car came in and stopped. Wait, I'm supposed to be looking at the car. No, we're going to go another way. And so every shot, as much as possible, was designed to be slightly disconcerting, but ultimately satisfying. That was the philosophy of the shooting.
Yo, he's a genius, yo. That hallway description, that's so great. Like, nobody's coming through. You're all alone. And the thing about this movie is I haven't watched it when it came out. You know what I mean? Obviously. I watched it like a few years back. I want to say maybe 5-6 years ago. And what I love the most about it is because I love like vintage stuff. You know what I mean? Like back in the day stuff, like back in the day movies, like just the way of living back in the day, you know, the vehicles and everything else. I love that scene where he was explaining the taxi, because that's what I watched the movie for now. You know what I mean? In the 2000s. It's to see how they lived over there. And I love that he went around and showed the other taxis. You know what I mean? How he has to come to I don't know what you would call it, the taxi department, where you pick up your taxi and go get to work, you know? That's dope. And like everybody being that character now, that was another bar he just like murdered it with in there, yo. Martin is a genius, yo.
I hope that's not true, yo, because fucking Bob was crazy in that movie.
Yeah, super crazy.
Yo, you got a lot of crazy people nowadays, so like it makes sense, yo. Like,
yeah, it does make sense. Like, loneliness will drive you insane. Yeah. I said people should meet more people.
And it's crazy him saying, like, you're looking at the hallway, you think something is coming, but nothing is coming. Man, I love where his mind is at, yo. This man is a genius. I've never heard him talk before, believe it or not. I watched most of his movies. I've never heard him talk.
Yeah, that guy's a genius. Yeah. He's like a magician too, because he does like a lot of things like sleight of hand, like what he was talking about. Like I think he knows his audience so well, right? The cool thing about it is like that's an old movie, right? And that was like early in his career, and the fact that he thought so much about the audience and like how they were gonna like anticipate every scene was kind of dope hearing him say that. Because that just shows like that dude was a genius in the beginning. Like this guy already knew how like how we were gonna like anticipate the scene. Like even with that hallway scene when he was talking about like, oh, people are gonna be anxious because they're gonna think, because that's exactly what I was thinking even when he was just showing it right now. Yeah. I'm like, oh, who's about to come down the hallway? Why are they panning to the hallway, right? Usually when they move the camera like that, it's because they want you to see something. He was doing it to like just literally throw you off. Like you're supposed to think that you're gonna see something, but it's like sleight of hand, like a musician. Like they're telling you to look over here, and you start looking over here, and the magic's happening over here, so you don't even see it, right? It's like I feel like he did that a lot, even with the panning of the taxi, right? The taxi's coming this way, and you think that you're gonna follow the taxi, and then he's like, all right, I'm gonna bring the camera going the other way. It's like, that's dope.
Martin is really, really like inspirational, you know, because like I love videos and stuff like that too, you know, like I would love to film, you know what I mean? And like I just love the way he was breaking it down and like his thoughts behind it and the reason why he did those things, you know, like the way he directed it. And it's phenomenal, yo. Like I'm so excited to check the rest of the movies out. Let's go, yo. This is nice.
Yeah, absolutely.
I've never checked nothing like this before.
Oh yeah, you're gonna love these. I've seen a bunch of these now. I haven't seen this one, but I've seen a bunch of them, and I love the behind the scenes stuff, right? To see like in the creator's head on like what they were thinking of all these, especially movies that we've seen like hundreds of times, right? And it's things like I've seen like a bunch of times, and then they explain it, and I'm like, dang, I didn't even think about it like that. You know what I mean? It's dope to hear it, especially from the people that actually are so iconic, like Martin Scorsese. You know?
Yo, this is behind the scenes. This is like the stuff that No Drink is built for. This is the stuff he lives for. You know what I mean?
I watch behind the scenes all the time.
Me too, though. I love it, yo. I love like finding out the origin and how it came about. You know, because it's so great when I watch it. That like if you explain it to me, like what was the thoughts behind it, I'm here to listen all day, every day, yo, 100%. You know.
Yeah, that's why Behind the Music was so big, right? When they were doing Behind the Music,
I used to love that. That was
everybody used to watch those Behind the Music because like you never got to like, especially back then, like you didn't get to see the artists really outside of like music and stuff like that, right? So when you got to see the Behind the Music and you got to see like how they were actually doing it and like how they were living and stuff like that, it was dope.
Yeah, I used to watch so many Behind the Music, bro. Like so many, it was crazy.
Gangs of New York.
Us natives born rightwise to this fine land, or the foreign hordes defiling it.
Gangs of New York comes out of those cobblestone streets around the church on Mott Street and Mulberry Street, and also coming off the other element that I grew up with really was the Bowery. At that time, the Bowery was what you call now homeless. At that time, really basically alcoholics, guys dying in the streets, basically. Very, very difficult place to grow up around and in. And so, but there was something about that Bowery and something about the neighborhood and the way the buildings were created in the cellars. There's so many cellars. And my father would talk about growing up there, going into one building, going down the cellar, and coming out 2 blocks away, running away from the cops or some of the guys. You know, it had its own life. It was like an organism. And it had a history.
Well, then we got business. What do we do?
With Leo DiCaprio was interesting because De Niro, we were acquainted with each other when we were 16 years old. So because of my relationship with him going back, he experienced what I experienced growing up. With Leo DiCaprio was interesting because De Niro, we were acquainted with each other when we were 16 years old. So because of my relationship with him going back to when we were 16,
That's crazy.
He experienced what I experienced growing up.
Yeah, I know. I was thinking the same thing, man. 16, yo. Like, so, wow. So are they the same age? Is that what's going on?
Yeah, Bob is old as hell too. He's probably around the same age as him.
Yeah, I would think so. Yeah, but which is crazy, like how their careers happened, right? With both of them being 16, knowing each other. Yeah. One became a legend actor, one became a legend freaking director. Like, how did that happen?
I did the star line like that. Like, that's crazy. Man,
that's super dope.
Super.
That's like when you hear those behind the scenes, like when Nicolas Cage and like Johnny Depp were like really good friends, like before both of them became famous, like since they were kids.
Oh yeah.
Wow. They used to be roommates. And so Johnny Depp's first audition when he did, Nightmare on Elm Street, his first movie, Nicolas Cage is the one that actually told him audition to do that. Because back then, Johnny Depp wasn't even trying to be an actor. He was just trying to be a musician. He was playing guitar. And then Nicolas Cage was like, dude, you got the look. He's like, you need to go do these auditions with me. He's like, you need to go audition for this movie. So he made him audition for that movie and he ended up getting the main role.
That's crazy.
And that's what literally took his career. And then he was like doing it. He's like, oh, I was only dabbling in acting because I wanted the money that they were paying me to act for my music career. Because he thought he was going to be a musician the whole time. And then he kept getting big roles. And he's like, dude, I never went back to doing music because they were paying me so much to do these movies.
That's crazy.
So like, yeah. So shout out to Nicolas Cage for basically pushing Johnny Depp to do movies, right?
Yeah, right. Oh man, that would have been ugly if he didn't, y'all. I love Johnny Depp, y'all.
Yeah, right. Well, there'd be no Pirates of the Caribbean, man.
Yeah. Oh, way deeper than that, bro. Like, what? His catalog goes strong, son. We'll definitely check him out one of these days. Something like this. Yo, I love this, man. This is like great, man. I appreciate it, Remarkable, for bringing this up.
Well, then we got business.
And we got business.
What do we do?
With Leo DiCaprio was interesting because De Niro, we were acquainted with each other when we were 16 years old. So because of my relationship with him going back to when we were 16, he experienced what I experienced growing up. So he's the only one I know around who's around that and who's working in that capacity and knows who I am, where I came from, and the world we were in. He then called me and said at one point, he just made a film called This Boy's Life, and he was working with this kid that he cast, being Leo DiCaprio. So he's got to work with him someday. And Bob never really used to tell me that, work with somebody, just we go from picture to picture, we work together. DiCaprio liked our pictures, came together, and they said, why don't we, you've always wanted to do gangs in New York. We started it many times, it got canceled. Here's a chance. This kid, Leo DiCaprio, really likes your films, at least meet with him. And he was willing to go whatever I could do to make that film. So that's how it all started, with him coming off of Titanic and a couple of other films. Then we convinced Daniel Day to get into it as Bill the Butcher. And Daniel Day is very intense and very specific actor. What I love about working with him is that Daniel has a thing where if he starts, he stays in that character. People think it's kind of a mystique, but it really makes sense. And also, because I'm talking to Bill the Butcher, and in between takes, it's Daniel. I'm still talking to Bill. He stays in that character, and he'll be one of the other actors Irish, and he's not supposed to like the Irish, and he treats that person that way.
I don't give a company fuck about your moral conundrum, you meat-headed shit sack.
They said, why is this? And that's what that is. Just, we're not playing. I mean, we're playing, but we're living it. And so he's very good that way. DiCaprio is another way entirely, and he comes at a character from every possible angle, and we find that with Leo, most of the work is done before we shoot.
Yo, Daniel sounds like the guy, yo.
No, Bill the Butcher was the best character in that whole movie.
Yo, but what's crazy is, can you imagine like the people that help the cast around, right? Like the people who are helping, that have to deal with that character, bro.
Yeah.
That's like Jim Carrey. Jim Carrey was the same way on Man on the Moon. They had a whole documentary about him playing. Damn, what was the character's name?
I can't remember his last name, but I remember Andy. Yeah, the Man on the Moon. Yeah,
Man on the Moon,
he was like the comedian, right?
Yeah. People like he literally took that role, and he upsetted people on set because he just wanted to get out of the role, and he did what Andy would do in real life. Because Andy was like the first troll of the entertainment world. Like he was trolling people before trolling was cool. That's why I love that documentary, because I didn't know anything about who Andy was, the character, because it's based on a true character. But yeah, he was literally trolling people for his own amusement. It was great, yo. It was like, if you've never seen that documentary, I recommend you watching it, because it gives you depth about Jim Carrey, how he played that role, and it gives you more depth of the character of who Andy really was. And wow, he was a troll, bro. Like he was
Andy Kaufman.
Kaufman, yo. Like he was trolling so bad, yo. Like people didn't even realize like he was trolling. Everything. Like that's why people think he's not really dead, because he likes to troll people.
Yo, that's crazy, because Tupac, he used to act in this character outside of the scenes as well.
Yeah.
People were like, oh, he's just trying to act like a gangster. He's not really a gangster, but he was actually like in that character, yo.
They call that. There's something.
It's it's method acting.
That's what it's called, method acting.
Yeah, method acting is like when you stay in that character and you just like you live that life the entire time that you're filming, right? Like the most famous one that I know of is when Heath Ledger did it for Joker.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Like that's like the most famous one where everybody talks about like he stayed as the Joker the entire time they filmed.
Yo, we get into one of my favorite movies, yo.
No, this is a great movie, man. This one of my favorite movies of all time. It's in my top 5 for sure. Like it's great.
Super classic, right? Like they got most iconic, like just the catchphrases in this movie.
Yeah.
Man, it's so good, and people still quote this movie all the time. Like, this is a very quotable movie.
Goodfellas.
As far back as I can remember, I always wanted to be a gangster.
Goodfellas was made 18 years after Mean Streets. I didn't really want to go to do another gangster genre, right? I mean, there was no main character. I mean, Ray Liotta is a wonderful actor, but he's like Virgil taking Dante through the underworld. The real character in the movie is the underworld. After doing the film Last Temptation of Christ, when I got back, I owned Warner Brothers Goodfellas, or became Goodfellas. It was called Wise Guys at the time. I almost didn't want to make it. It was Michael Powell, the director of The Red Shoes, co-director, I should say, and other masterpieces, who read the script and insisted I make it. Every shot may feel like a documentary, but the camera moves, everything you see is all there in the script. We had to stage bits of action. Joe Reedy did it, and Michael Ballhouse, my cameraman. They worked out all the background action for the long Copacabana shot. All I said was, we start out in the front, he gives the guy the money. Next thing you know, we go through the thing, we go through here, we wind up on the famous comic Annie Young. Everything has to flow with no obstruction. He's got to impress her. They send him bottles of champagne. Everybody knows him. That's his height. So that shot had to be. And I wanted Joe Pesci to be in the film. And I think he resisted it. I know he resisted it. He said, I don't know, gangster stuff. And I said, yeah, but Joe said, this character's really interesting. Based on a real guy.
Really funny. Really funny. What do you mean I'm funny?
He said, well, if you do it, I got to tell you something. And I said, well, what is it? He goes, not here. And he acted out the scene. That happened to him. I knew exactly where to put it. Went through the scene over and over again, recorded it all, each take. And then I created from the actor's improvisations and tried to make sure that it accelerated the right way, because the slightest change, of like, why am I funny? What do you mean I'm funny? I'm not funny. Otherwise it'd be just repetitious.
Funny like I'm a clown. I amuse you. I make you laugh. I'm here to fucking amuse you. What do you mean funny? Funny how? How am I funny?
And I decided we just do it with 2 cameras. We squeeze it in on a day that wasn't scheduled. The 2 cameras would be medium wide shots, because it was important to see, not just, there were no close-ups. It was important to see Joe's character and Ray's character in relation to the people around them. And while the intensity builds, you see the body language of everybody around them change. And it just happens. That's even better. So close-ups, no, let's get out of here. We shot it like an hour and a half. They improvised too with the bottle breaking on Tony Darrow's head and that sort of thing. He had the nerve to ask to pay the bill.
He's sick with that one, yo.
That's wild to find out that like Joe Pesci probably wasn't going to be in the movie, right? Like he was saying that he didn't even want to do it, and he didn't even want to direct this movie. Like he was trying to pass it up.
Yo, Joe Pesci is like my favorite like gangster actor.
And he didn't want to play a gangster. So the fact that he didn't want to play a gangster, and then now he's like known for being that gangster guy. Right? It's so funny like how that works, right?
That's wild. Yeah, I love Joe Pesci, yo. Yo, he got music too. We gotta check out his music, yo. Yo, he got this. He raps and sings. He did this Wise Guys rap, yo.
Joe Pesci did?
Yeah.
Yeah, we definitely gotta check that out.
Yeah,
I love this.
That's crazy to think that that was his idea too. That whole scene was he said that that actually happened to him. So he wanted to write that scene into the movie. So that scene wasn't even in the movie.
Yeah, that's great.
He said like that was a real experience that happened to him. And he's like, so he showed him that scene just doing an improv in front of him, and then he liked it, so he wrote it into the movie.
You know what's crazy, is that Martin took that into consideration that he should do that. You know what I mean? Like most directors, like, no, this is how I want it done. Just do it. Yeah, they're too big-headed, yo. So that's great.
Yeah.
Ray Liotta, he was the first voice actor of the main character in Grand Theft Auto.
Really?
Yeah, Vice City. He was Tommy Vercetti.
Wow, that's dope, yo.
Yeah.
He got that voice for it too, because in Goodfellas, yo, without him, like
him narrating the movie, right, really made it too. Yeah, I love like when he was narrating, even that part where they showed it right in the beginning, right?
Yeah,
I've always wanted to be a gangster.
Yeah. Ever since I can remember,
Yeah.
Yeah, I love this movie, yo. That was great. I didn't know Departed is from 2006, huh? He made this? Like I didn't know he made this.
Yeah. This is a big Martin Scorsese movie for sure.
Yeah,
people talk about this is the one that people talk about all the time.
I've seen this movie, but like I never knew it was his.
His movies are so great, just not because how well it's written or how great it's directed. It's the cast that he picks.
Yes,
brilliant.
I think it's a mixture of both, because even the cast, like some of their best movies are his movies. And I think it's because of that partnership. I think it's because like that Joe Pesci thing that we just talked about. He lets them like kind of do a lot of like what he knows that they're good at and what people are going to want to see. Because even stuff that like, they don't think they're good at, he like, dude, I know you're going to kill this. Right? So I think he's very aware of like people's talents and how to like really like showcase it. So everything that he's done has been great.
Yeah, he's an absolute genius, bro. Like the way he was like explaining the Taxi, like I didn't even like. I mean, like I felt the feelings he was talking about. Like he got me there. Like he got it done, whatever job he was trying to intend to do. You know what I'm saying? But I never had those ideas behind it. That's so brilliant, yo.
And Taxi Driver is such a great movie, man. Such a great. It makes me want to watch it again.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yo,
all of these movies. Him talking about every time he's talking about all these movies now I want to go back and watch it, like because like I love the insight stuff that he's talking about, like things I didn't catch on, like that hallway scene and all those things. Now I want to go back and watch it and like see like, dang, was I feeling that way? You know what I mean? Like I want to see like what, like now that I know what his intentions were, like it's even dope to see it now looking back.
100%. I'm so glad that like all of these actors and Martin Scorsese like got together. You know what I mean? What a blessing, yo. So many classics, yo. Classics upon classics.
Yeah.
The Departed.
Those guys you tuned up, they're connected.
My favorite bad guy of all time.
What they're gonna do is come back with some guys and kill you.
I was wanted to work with Jack Nicholson at Beat Filming. I offered him the part, and then he said, give me something to play. And he was right, because the way the script was, Bill Monahan's script was a very good script. But the character of Costello was still presented as your generic big shot gangster. He hears this young kid in town who just beat up somebody in a bar. He calls him in, checks him out, and then he says, come and talk to me. Because he looks at him and says, maybe I can use this kid. We've seen that scene many times in Westerns, in gangster films, because it's very truthful. That's what happens. You do it in business, too. Suddenly you make a big hit with something and everybody calls you.
Yeah, that movie is crazy, yo.
Yeah, The Departed is fucking amazing, yo.
What a good story, yo.
Yeah, the twist and especially the ending, right? How that movie ends.
Oh, man, I love it, yo.
Yeah.
Well, yo, I mean, like, it's kind of vicious. Like, you don't expect some of the endings. You know what I'm saying?
Checks him out, and then he says, come and talk to me. Because he looks at him and says, maybe I can use this kid. We've seen that scene many times in Westerns, in gangster films, because it's very truthful. That's what happens. You do it in business, too. Suddenly you make a big hit with something and everybody calls you. and they want to see what you could do for them. In this case, it's the underworld. And there was a scene where he's eating a lobster lunch, it said,
Oh, I love this
in his
scene.
apartment, and he has this kid.
Throws a hand.
The basic line was, "What can you do for me? Well, you want to work with me? You're a tough guy. What can you do for me?" I'd seen that scene many times. And Nicholson said, "What if?" Call me and said, "What if?" While we're at lunch, on the table in a little plastic bag is a severed human hand. I said, "No, that's a job interview." And you never mention it. Don't even discuss it. We went off on a whirlwind of the fact that Costello would be losing control and, in a sense, losing his mind, really. And that's something that was very controversial at the time. Some people went with it, some didn't. But the thing is that I was around a situation like that when I was growing up, where somebody very powerful, who was eventually killed in 1968, was, in fact, losing his mind and killing people. An atmosphere of fear that I saw around that area that was what I wanted to capture in Departed. Worse than that, these guys were all informers on each other. And it's true. In a world where everyone is informing on each other now. Complain about the guy as well. He's out of his mind. And he's overdoing. No, imagine that's in effect what it would be like. You're completely under his control and he's out of his mind. And that's what I feel the world is like right now.
He made like timeless like stuff that like will come up in years to come, which is crazy.
I like how he put his own life experiences in movies.
It makes me think like, man, this guy had a crazy childhood. I didn't realize how like of a thug this dude grew up, man.
He grew up some real stuff. Yeah, he grew up in New York when New York was fucking surrounded by mob.
Yeah. That's why it looks like he grew up in like a rough area of New York, though. Like,
well, he's Italian.
There's a lot of different areas of New York.
You're gonna know other Italians that's part of that world.
It's probably not rough for Italians in the Italian neighborhood, though. I would say it's probably not rough. It's probably like very community like established. You know, of course you got the mobsters like the shot callers and stuff. You know, like that run the place. But for the main civilians, I would say like it's probably like a pretty good like safe environment. You know, because Italians are very family oriented. You know what I mean?
I think in that even in that era, like the 60s and 70s, most of those communities stick with their communities. Like they looked out for their communities. So it's not like how it is today, man. Nobody gives a fuck.
No, that was internet, yo.
You don't know your neighbors now, right?
Nobody knows your neighbors. Like I remember,
everybody knew each other.
Even when I was growing up in the 90s, if you did something stupid in the neighborhood, you're gonna get checked by the older dudes, and they're gonna be like, "Yo, you can't be doing this shit. What the fuck's wrong with you, bro?"
You see them all the time, right?
Yeah,
like, there's always people.
Yeah, you see them all the time. Yo, they're just
Yeah, like well nowadays, like you get so easily influenced with the internet. You feel like you're with them. You know what I mean? To the point you feel like you are that, and then you go out there and then you hit a brick wall and you're like, oh damn, maybe I'm not that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like that realization comes in and out. But yo, you know what I like about Martin, man? This is like the second or third time he's been talking about letting the actor come up with ideas to bring to the film.
Yep.
Like him being so open to that. That's why all his movies are great. Like getting to know him on this, I can see why all these movies are so great. You know what I mean? This guy's brilliant.
And he's a fan of these guys too, because you can even hear him. Like he wanted to work with Jack Nicholson, right? He's like, I always wanted to work with him. So like the fact that I got him in a movie, and then he was like, give me something to play. And he's like, yeah, you're right. Like he's like, I looked at the script and he's like, yeah, this is very generic, right? He's like, no, yeah, we do need to change it up. Like even like him saying, like, what if I had a hand? Like, in there, but we didn't even talk about the hand, right?
Which was brilliant, bro. With a brilliant, yo, because it was like he said, it was subtle. They didn't talk about the hand. He didn't talk about the hand in the movie. He just pulled it out like he's talking to him like it's casual. Like this is like a regular brunch day for him. He just like dealing with hide this hand, do this, like just saying. It was a great scene because, like I said, it was subtle. It never got brought up. The hand never got brought up in the whole scene, which was great.
That's what I love about that scene too. Yeah,
me too.
They never talk about it, and then the whole time you're watching, you're like, bro, they're gonna bring up like that this dude's swinging around a freaking hand, a severed hand in a bag right now.
Are we not seeing this, or are we too scared to question him? You know what I mean?
I know why he did
Jack
it.
Nicholson is mean too, bro. Like
no,
Jack
absolutely
perfect.
Yeah. After watching the scene, then you're like, oh, that's brilliant, because anybody else who would have filmed that scene would have been like, the hand would have been the whole scene, right? They would have been talking about the hand, like, you want this to happen to you, like they would have brought that whole thing in. That would have been the scene, right? Yeah. So the fact that wasn't like, that's a big part that everybody was looking at and they didn't even talk about it, was like, that's insane.
It wasn't for the audience. It was more towards Leo's character. See how he would react to
but then that is in the audience though, because then that kind of puts us in
anxiety.
And then it's like you're thinking like, oh dang, if I was Leo right now and I'm in his shoes and this guy's just waving a hand on me,
I'm getting the fuck out of there.
Exactly. Brilliant. That's brilliant, man. Brilliant.
Yo, you know what I love about Martin as well too, because he was talking about Roberto like giving him the idea to work with Leonardo, you know, and here he is like years later doing another movie with him. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like he's so dope, man. He's such a good dude, you know. All of these people been around him for so long, like, you know. I mean, I would be too, man, if I could be in one of his movies. What?
Yeah, look at the Departed cast alone is insane. Like you got Matt
insane.
Damon, you got Mark Wahlberg, you got Jack Nicholson, Leonardo DiCaprio. Like the list is insane, man. Like
he's like the Tupac of directing, bro. Like he's mean, bro.
Raging Bull.
I love everything you got. I want you to fucking lay me out. Go ahead.
You sure?
Yeah. Hard.
The 70s studio system changed a great deal, and the week that film was released was the same week from the same studio that Michael Cimino's Heaven's Gate opened. That, Raging Bull, Apocalypse Now, all from the same studio, United Artists. That ended what the 70s, they call this, golden age, etc. But really, it ended the power of the director, in a way, in American filmmaking. And that had to come back through independent cinema, another way, through the 80s. The 70s was very much that way because things were wide open. We went in and we took it like the barbarians at the gate, and we transformed whatever we could, but they caught us. Raging Bull was we threw everything we knew into it, not knowing how it was going to be received. We understood that people didn't like him, and even the crew, turned out, I didn't know until later, why are we making a film about this guy? He's a horror. But we stayed with it. This man may be this way, but still, he's a human being. He's got a heart. He's got a soul. By the end of it, he finds some kind of peace with himself and maybe the others around him. I think I was going there to try to find peace in myself. That year, there were, I think, 4 more films coming out about boxing. The Main Event with Barbara Streisand, Prize Fighter with Tim Conway, Matilda the Boxing Kangaroo, and Rocky II also. And they were all in color. That's when I realized that we should go black and white. And also the black and white would work distinctively different from the other boxing films that were being made, comedies and Rocky II. And also, Irvin Winkle pointed out to the studio that the films that were made in black and white up to that point in the 70s were Paper Moon and Lenny, and they were hits. I also thought, too, that the boxing scenes had to be very powerful. The rest of the film, anything else, was concentrated in an almost meditative state in terms of framing, holding those people in that frame. But the boxing scenes would be like they're on another planet. Primarily, it was based on, I came up with the idea when I was doing Last Waltz, being on the stage with the band, and watching how the band worked. The ballet sequences from Red Shoes, where you don't really necessarily go head to toe, where you see the dancer. Instead, you see what's inside the mind of the dancer. What's in the mind, what's the perception of the fighter in the ring. They don't even know where they are sometimes.
Yo, I must admit, I don't think I've watched The Raging Bull.
Yeah, you should watch it. It's really good.
Yeah.
Like, is it based on an actual fighter?
Yeah.
Yeah? Who?
Yeah.
I don't know the character's name.
He kind of looked like that dude that was undefeated for a long time. Man, he's very, very known. Marciano?
No, it's not.
Yeah,
Marciano.
that's Rocky.
Not Marciano.
No,
that's Rocky.
Rocky.
Right?
Yeah, it's not.
Yeah, that's what the Rocky movies are.
He played Jake LaMotta.
Yeah, Jake LaMotta.
Yeah, that's who he played.
Yep. No, that's a super fire movie. And I like how aware that he is as far as like making his movie stand out, right? Because he knows his competition. He knows what movies are coming out in that same time frame, and he's like figuring out a way, like, well, how can we make these like not sound like white noise, right? Coming out with another boxing movie with other 4 boxing movies coming out, right?
Yeah.
The black and white thing was dope. Like that he was like, oh, we'll make ours in black and white. We'll do the perspective of the actual boxer. Like those kind of things were like dope that he like knew like that's what's gonna set him apart from the other movies, right?
Yeah. And also he got the young Roberto De Niro, a young Joe Pesci. That's definitely gonna stand you out. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
You're gonna stand out for sure. Yeah, it's dope.
They're gonna need to send in the National Guard or fucking SWAT team, because I ain't going nowhere!
Again, like Raging Bull, I didn't want to make it, but I had to find my own way in it. And a lot of it had to do with style. The style I felt originally was more like Goodfellas. I had done it. And I did it again in Casino. What more could I bring to it? And we found a way, and that was ultimately through his character. And the whole idea of untethered capitalism. This is the spirit of it. Anything goes because you're making money. Doesn't matter. And it's a little bit that way too in Casino, but Casino is organized crime. It's a different thing. This is organized another way. And so with that understanding, then I was able to play with the structure of it and make it right away. First 3 or 4 minutes of the film, you can see right away this is going to be something unexpected. Like every other shot, something shocking going on in a way, or supposedly shocking. In order to do that, you have to have somebody who's playing that part be prepared to do anything. And he did. I would provoke him, he provoked me, we'd go further. If you read the book, we could have gone even further.
That's dope.
Yeah, he's such a beast, bro. He's such a beast. This is another movie I didn't know he did, you know? The Wolf of Wall Street. I didn't know he did it, you know? That's crazy. This is man, it's so wild, yo.
Wolf of Wall Street is fire too. Like that movie got he got some quotes in that movie, like when he's like screaming and stuff like that. Like the office scenes are super good, man.
That movie was a sleeper too. I didn't think it was gonna be as good as you know what I mean, just because the concept. I'm like, who cares, man? Fucking stock market, blah 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 blah. And I ended up watching a movie and I'm like, Yeah, I'm so glad I did. And I think the only reason I watched it because of Leo. I'm a big Leo fan.
Yeah, I know.
Leo don't make bad movies, man.
No, he doesn't.
I mean, if you look at the real character, like you happy you didn't have to see him. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because the real character, he's kind of like a scumbag. You know what I mean?
No, he is a scumbag, 100%.
Oh, for sure. Yeah.
Leo over here, he looks like Robin Hood in this movie. You know what I mean? To me, at least.
No, I thought he was a scumbag too in the movie. I thought he was a scumbag. Yeah, 100%. Yo.
I don't know. It's something about Leo. Like he's never a scumbag since Titanic, bro. Like he's always a good.
Oh
guy.
yeah, but see, I'm looking at the movie as character. As what he's doing, and what he's doing is super wrong. But now, since it was crazy, it's like, was it just Leo though, character? Was it just Jordan Belfort that was doing all that? Yeah. Like, there's no way, right? There's like no way this dude was the only one doing it. Like, how many other people robbed and took all their money?
Yeah, the Ponzi schemes are everything too. Yeah.
So like, I think he was like he did it the biggest and obviously the loudest. You know what I mean? He didn't
care. Yeah.
What a crazy movie, yo! They were so close to like ruining it all, y'all.
Mm-hmm. Which is crazy because they were so far ahead, and he had so many chances where he could have just left, and he wouldn't have got caught, and everything would have been good for him.
Yeah,
right.
Drugs.
Like there's so many times that he could have been like, "All right, I hit the pinnacle. Like I got everything. Let's just get out while we're ahead. Right? They got nothing on me." And then he just kept going. Like he could, even when they told him to step down, right? In the movie, they like he was supposed to step down, and he was gonna get away with everything.
Well, people didn't realize was because he was addicted to drugs, he was addicted to money, but what he was mostly addicted to was himself and being in power. Like that's even more addicting,
And like being able to move all those all pieces, on the chessboard, and like just having the upper hand on people,
exactly,
like overlooking the whole entire thing, And he ran a lot, bro. You know what I mean? Made a lot of money, and like the lifestyle was great too,
Yeah, Leo is one of those actors. Is like, man, I think you could put his catalog against any actor, right? Like, he's hard to beat. Like, if you put his whole catalog versus anybody, I think any other actor out there
he's
right now,
so good, bro.
He's got to be top 5, right? Like,
100%.
It's hard to like compare, like, and you can compare somebody who's had even longer careers than him. The amount of movies, like the amount of good movies this guy's made, and like I don't know a bad movie of his. I've gone through his discography, and like he hasn't really made anything that was terrible. And the worst thing I think he's ever made was like Romeo and Juliet.
Yeah,
and even that wasn't like terrible.
Yeah, you're pushing it there, because Romeo and Juliet was fire. I love that movie.
I rewatched it and I was like, there's a lot of cheesy lines in it.
It's cheesy lines, but that's not like
added line.
It's not an added line. It's just that's the line of the story.
Yeah, but
there was no improv, pretty much.
No, I'm not saying his acting was. I'm just saying the movie in general. I'm talking about his movie, right? Yeah. Out of all his movies, I think that's like my least favorite of his. Like that's not a movie I would go back and like rewatch now anymore.
The craziest part about Leo is like the diversity, like he can go to that crazy island, and he can go to Titanic, and he can go to all these different movies.
Basketball Diaries,
and you believe him.
Oh yeah, Basketball Mark Wahlberg.
Mean Streets.
Hey, what's the matter with this kid, huh? Hey, there ain't nothing wrong with me, my friend. I'm feeling fine. Keep your mouth shut. Hey, you told me that in front of this asshole.
I was living in the late 50s into the early 60s down in my old neighborhood of what they used to call Little Italy. At that time, it really was Little Italy. Families were loving, but it was the tenements, and it was not a really good place. And they were good people, but at the same time, it was steeped in a kind of organized crime. Mean Streets comes out of that violence, which I missed by chance, really.
Now's the time.
Did he say that was in the Bronx? Did he mention what borough Little Italy is in? Because I lived in Little Italy in the Bronx. And I wonder if that's because that's the same like in the Bronx, in Little Italy. The Bronx Tale is from there as well. You know what I mean?
Yeah, maybe it's in the Bronx then.
That's crazy. He was raised there too, and he was talking about it the same way we was. Remember, I told you for the civilians, it's probably not that if you mind your own business, but you do organized crime and somebody running the whole place.
And it's crazy how aware he was too, because he's like I missed not doing crime by just chance, right? Yeah. He's like I could have fallen into that same kind of life.
Easy, right? Easy. When you grow up around it, you become it, in a sense,
Yeah.
Now's the time.
I was with these people in this car. I told my friend was with me in the back seat. I said, it's 2:00 in the morning. This is nonsense. Let's go home. Yeah, okay, let's go home. Car drove off and they got shot. had to do with a lot of street power, so to speak, a sense of certain rules that the underworld works with. And a lot of it had to do with, am I my brother's keeper? It also reflects my father and his youngest brother. My father was one of 8 children. His youngest brother was always in trouble. And my father was always trying to broker situations where he wouldn't get killed.
Here's about $30. It's all he's got on him, Michael. Where's the rest? Yeah, where's the rest?
The extent to which one is your real brother or one is such a close friend that you put yourself on the line is something that's really important to me in terms of how you live a life and try to live a good moral life, but you're in a world that is completely corrupt.
You don't make up for your sins in the church. You do it in the streets. You do it at home.
And that's the essence of mean streets. That's why I talk about in the beginning. You can go to church all you want, but the real acting out of your morality is outside the church. It's outside the building of the church. It's in the home. It's with your friends, and that all the rest is an illusion. I was 5 years old in New York. It was the late 40s. We had a television, 16-inch. On Friday nights, there was an Italian film shown for the Italian-American community. And my grandparents would come over. And, they didn't speak English, only Sicilian. And my mother and father, my uncles, and we'd get around this little TV set, and we see The Bicycle Thief. They had these words in the bottom. The people that were speaking in the film, they were speaking the same way as my family. Those Italian films were more than cinema. They were a form of truth that I related to because it somehow had something to do with who I am. And so no matter what I shoot, it isn't directly saying, oh, we're going to do a shot now from The Bicycle Thief. No, it's the emotional and psychological impact of experiencing that film when I was 5 or 6 in the room with these people who lived it.
Yo, it's so crazy to see Roberto De Niro young, bro. Like, that's crazy. Like, this dude has done so many movies, bro. And him growing up with Martin since 16 years old all makes, like, all the sense. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's phenomenal, bro. Like, yo, we are so, like, lucky to have all of these men come together with their skills. You know what I mean?
You
and
know,
have created the classics that they have created. That's crazy.
You know, it's crazy. It's not like he just gave Bob a job. It's like, all right, well, try your best. Like, Bob can actually act. You know what I mean? He was killing these roles.
One of the best in his field. He's one of the best in his field. You know, like, that's crazy, yo.
He was saying it earlier, right? Where he's talked about how they would come together here and there, right?
Yeah.
They would go do their own thing, and then they would come back and do a film together, right? Because like them to get like separate, like they're both masters at their craft, right? Robert De Niro is gonna be Robert De Niro no matter who was directing that dude. Like, that dude can act, right? So, but the fact that they had that brotherhood and that they kept coming back to each other and doing movies together because of their childhood is that much more fire, right? Dude, listening to Martin Scorsese like explain like how he grew up and like his morals and like what he believes makes me like him so much more.
Yeah, me too.
Dude, he's a stand-up, like he's like a straight up, like you could tell that this dude like really is like a stand-up kind of guy. Like he really lives on these morals. Like I love how he's explaining this, because this is like a lot of the same beliefs that he believes, like with the brotherhood and all that stuff, is a lot of the stuff that I stand on too. You know,
100%.
Yeah, solid guy.
He's brilliant, though. He's absolutely brilliant. And I'm really surprised, like, the type of lifestyle he had, you know? Like, I thought, like, these were just movies and stories that he heard. He sort of was, you know, like, he was in there, yo. Like, he has experienced a lot of these, like, you know, mobster movies, you know? And then the ideas coming from, like, the actors and everything around. Yeah, it's just brilliant, man. I love how he's, like, so open-minded and so ready to, like, cooperate with anything that wants to help.
Yeah.
You know, make it a classic. So, yeah, that's amazing.
I don't know. It sounds funny. It stops, it starts, it loses power. See if I can give you a hand.
Over the years, seeing the difference in the technology. One of the key things to give us the energy to make our first films, features, was John Cassavetes doing Shadows in 16 millimeter, which came from France with the Eclair camera. So all of that happening at that time made it that we could make a film ourselves. We didn't have to have the studio behind us with giant lights and giant Mitchell BNCs. I've kind of stayed pretty much traditional. We edit now with a computer, but I don't really know how to do that. Velma does it. If I can utilize the new technology for the kind of story I want to make, why not go there? And so in the case of The Irishman, De Niro and I had this idea for a long time. And again, I didn't want to do another gangster genre. Part of the problem was flashbacks. And by the time we got to do it, he was too old to play his younger self. And they said, well, a different actor. And I said, then it's not like us making a film together. What's the point? And so we were talking about this idea of youthification. And Pablo Herman of ILM was with us doing CGI or background material for us in Taiwan, where we're doing silence. And he came up and he said, I think I can do it. What I have seen is that people have to wear golf balls on their faces. You can't have a scene with Joe Pesci and Bob De Niro and Al Pacino, whatever. They all have golf balls on their faces. And they're the kinds of actors that kind of thing for this kind of movie, it doesn't work. And eventually, by the end of the shoot of Silence, he had it. And we did a test with Bob, and we were De Niro, and we tried it. And we all felt strongly about it. The drawback was financially, because it was extremely expensive, and also length of time. It was an extra 5 to 6 months in the post-production. That's when Netflix came in and really helped us. It's not just CGI. We accepted if a person puts on a fat suit or you paint their hair white, they're supposed to be old. Well, what if you do it digitally?
Yeah, I gotta watch that movie too. I've been sleeping.
I watched that movie. What's crazy is that I also watched this other dude. I want one of the interviews, but he's like an actual gangster, like that didn't tell or none of that, and is really from the life, like really from the life, like with full proof. You know what I mean? He's like all the way going back to the Black Hand. The Italians from Sicily that came over here, and like they were called the Black Hand. They were running everything in the underworld in the 1930s. Yeah. So that guy was talking about this movie, and he was saying now the Irishman is not like, that's not him. Like he's like the Irishman character. He stole all the credit from this other actual Italian dude. You know what I mean? Because nobody really knows what happened to this guy. Like I forget his name, man. Hopper. What was his name? You never watched this movie neither? Remarkable?
No, I've seen this movie. Absolutely.
So what's the guy's name with the trucks? Al Pacino plays him.
Yeah, I know who you're talking about.
Damn, you guys seen this movie? I want to watch this now.
Yeah,
no,
it's
Irishman.
a good movie. It's a good movie.
Fire.
And what's crazy is like how old like Joe Pesci and Roberto De Niro is, and like how they still hold it down even though how old they are. You know, it's so dope.
Yeah, so. Jimmy Hoffa, Jimmy
Hoffa, yeah. And nobody knows what happened to Jimmy Hoffa, you know. So it's a real story behind this movie as well, you know. But it's a great movie though.
Super good movie. Yeah, I don't want to spoil too much for No Drink, but you gotta watch this.
You gotta watch it first.
Yeah, you're gonna love this movie.
A fat suit, or you paint their hair white, they're supposed to be old. Well, what if you do it digitally? It's like makeup. It's just taking that leap of saying, oh no, it's gotta be the old way. This is now the transformation into a new way.
You think he's talking about like, you know, the different filters people have there, and like instead of like putting makeup and stuff, making you look older or younger or whatever the case
is. It is like a CGI filter, because that's what they made. What's his name? Not Will Smith. Yeah, I hated that Gemini movie.
Oh, you're talking about Ego.
Ego. What was that actor's name, yo? Damn, I can't think.
No,
it's not Dustin Hoffman at all.
No, it's It's like I'm thinking like I can see his face, but like I can't remember his name.
Not Russell, Russell something. Damn, I can't think of his name. Kurt Russell. When I first saw that movie, when I was watching the movie, I was like, this guy looks super familiar, right? As I'm watching, you know, is that like, because I saw it in the theaters, I'm like, is that fucking Kurt Russell? How did they make him look? Because they made him look hella young.
Hella young.
Scenes? Yeah, the flashback scene, they made him look hella young, and I'm like, that's Kurt Russell, but how's he just so fucking young, yo? You know what I mean? Like, I was like, CGI is fucking crazy.
Yo, that's crazy. Yeah, like, so when they go back in time of the character, right? Because yo, that's dope. I like that.
Even when he got older too, because he's not supposed to really age.
Yeah, he's not supposed to age. But he did age in the movie, but he's also been alive for fucking who knows how long. I've never seen this movie. I didn't.
This is one movie so far that I've seen all of them except for this one, the silent one.
Well, so this is the second one I haven't seen.
Yeah, I haven't seen this one.
Silence. 2016. What?
Yeah, 2016. Damn.
Oh, Andrew Garfield?
Things that happened when I was making Last Temptation that took me only up to a certain point. I found myself wanting more, and I found it in silence. And when I read the book, I was in Japan actually, it was 1989, and I tried to write a version of the script with my friend Jay Cox by 1990, 92, but I didn't get it. And it took me years, another 10, 12 years to live a life and experience with different exploration, going making kundun, for example, the Dalai Lama, all of these things. And finally, by around 2006, 2007, I was able to put the script together. I felt that we could do it. Too many technical business problems. It almost made it impossible to get made, but eventually it did. Ang Lee's group helped us. Don't shoot in Taiwan, you know, a special experience for the entire crew making the film. The locations, the people, the scenes themselves, what the Japanese actors. I mean, it was really a kind of spiritual journey.
That one might have been because of getting the rights for that script, for that story.
Oh, because of the book.
Yeah.
That makes sense. Yeah.
Well, he was also talking about like because of the experiences that he had to live still too, right? Because he was talking about he wanted to tell it right. Right. So he said that when he started making those other movies and started living, like, you know, he did the Dalai Lama like movie, he started doing that, he started experiencing more of other different cultures of life, then he had a better grasp of how he was going to do this movie. Yeah. Right? I think that was the difficulty because it's a completely different than his background, right?
Yeah.
So I think he wanted it to be authentic. He really, really cares about like making it authentic movies, right? He's not going to just put anything out. Like most of this stuff that he didn't even want to do, right?
He's
But the
like-
reason why he did it is because he took a different approach to it than they originally gave him, right?
He's very detailed. It's kind of like, you know, Andre 3000 was with his raps, you know, like it takes him a while and all of that, but like he wants it perfect. You know?
He takes his craft very seriously.
Very.
Yo,
does too.
Remarkable. Can you do me a favor? You got your phone on you?
Yeah.
Yo, text me that movie, The Silence, so I won't forget.
I'm actually looking at it right now, so that's kind of funny. So I definitely want to watch it because it's got Andrew Garfield, Adam Driver, and Liam Neeson in it.
Oh wow, yeah. Send
So
me
I'm like,
just text me
what?
that
How did we
that
not see
movie.
this movie? Yeah, I'm gonna screenshot it and send it.
I gotta check that out. This is the movie I'm watching today, Killer of the Flower Moon. I heard
this is
Leo's
another
best
movie I need to
performance.
see too. Yeah, I haven't seen this one either.
Yeah, I was reading online and people were just like, "Yo," they were saying like, "This is his best performance he's ever done."
Really?
Yeah, and I can't wait. But the only thing is, it's fucking 3 hours and 24 minutes long.
Yeah,
and I don't mind sitting
Take it all
in long movies. I don't mind watching long movies. It's like
I don't either, especially not his movies, right?
Yeah,
This
Like,
movie's
this
not
is
made
so
for
much.
that.
Yeah.
yeah, they go by fast. You know, what I mean, they're not dragging.
I wish Goodfellas was a show. You know what I mean? I wish I could watch that for like fucking
Yeah,
right? Like a series. If they did like a series for it,
Oh, I would love that, yo. I would love that. One of my favorite movies, hands down.
Killers of the Flower Moon.
Their time is over.
It's taken 6 years. We didn't intend to take it 6 years, but I was making The Irishman, and then there was COVID. I was given the book and read the book, and I was very excited.
Oh, I want to see this movie. I've
Yeah.
been seeing the commercials for it for a minute, bro. Like for a minute. It just came out.
Yeah, this year.
Where is it?
I wonder if HBO got it because HBO and like Stars and stuff like that. If you got subscription for them, they sometimes get it. Like,
Yeah, I have those subscriptions still, and it's not on there.
It's not on there. Damn.
Nah.
Go about it. Eric Roth and I went through a process of a few years of pulling the script together and the story. And there's some wonderful things. We got to a point where we said, let's sit down and read this thing. I got some friends. We sat down. Leo was there. Eric was good. But there's something about it that I felt we've been there before. And that was the idea of a police procedural. And the character he was supposed to play, Tom White, was a character that is straight-laced, very strong, very proper guy. And so we thought about it for another week and a half. And Leo came to me and said, where's the real heart of this picture? I said, the heart is with this guy, Ernest, and his wife, Molly. The only problem is we don't know anything about Ernest. Everybody else, we've got tons of material on. We don't know anything about him. So we came up with the idea of what if, instead of coming from the outside in, what if we go from the inside out? And I said, oh yeah, the story really is the relationship of Ernest and Molly and the betrayal. I said, the only problem there is that it's a creative problem, which is you take the script, you turn inside out. And how much of procedural do you need? Not very much. It started to come together. It gave me the direction that I felt comfortable in. The other way I've seen the kind of movies I enjoy doing, and imagine doing horses and running Western tropes in a way they call it. I would love it, but I've seen it. They did it so much better. Everybody else does it better. So here, though, you're in the house and there's a husband and wife, and this guy is dodgy. He's being manipulated by this sort of angel of death, his uncle.
You know, you got nice color skin. What color would you say that is?
My color.
We had been working on the casting for quite a while, including indigenous people. She says, I have somebody I want you to see. But then I saw the scene from Certain Women, Kelly Reichardt's film. I thought she was wonderful. And after COVID, we got to meet. I was struck by the whole visage, the face, and her intelligence. One could see that there's a lot going on in her face, but her not doing very much, which is perfect for film acting. Also, the intelligence and level of understanding and of coming from indigenous people and being an activist, we could learn from her, which is what we did. And we'll work together, myself, her, and Leo, very, very closely.
Yo, this man is brilliant.
And this guy's been alive since the 40s, yo.
Yo, making movies for like over 60 years, bro. Who could say that, yo?
That's insane.
Like directing like classics. Who could say that? Nobody could say that, man.
Damn near almost 60 years this guy's been directing. Yeah, that's insane, yo.
Insane, yo.
I'm trying to do the math in my head. I'm like, yeah, that's almost 60 years this guy's been doing movies.
Yo, he probably got to be like the best director that ever lived. I mean, like he's definitely like on his way there.
No, he's definitely in the conversation, yo.
Yeah,
if not in the conversation, in first place.
yeah, straight up.
You know
like
what I mean?
talking, right? Yeah.
He's like the Leo, right? Of directors to me, right? His filmography of movies is like you can match this with like any director. That's a hard filmography to beat.
Yeah.
Because if you talk about directors, like this guy, his movies are more serious and cadence to drama, thriller, and the actors. Which other movies, like I'll say, like Steven Spielberg is more like fantasy. You know, not the best acting roles in movies. Same thing with George Lucas. It's more like fantasy and one character in the movie that's really based off. Like with Martin, like you fall in love with multiple characters in the movie.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, like he said, in the Goodfellas, there's no main character. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like the underworld is the main character, you know? And I love how he was explaining this from like the outside. You just like flip it around. So you do it from the inside out. Like, that's so crazy. Like, he's so brilliant, bro. Like, I've never heard this man talk ever. Like, he's never been in none of his movies neither, right? No, yeah. So I only know him of his name, Scorsese, and I can't even say it, you know. But like, that's all I know. But damn, yo, this man is brilliant, bro. After hearing him, like, yo, he's a genius, bro. He's a genius. Like, when it comes to directing and like script writing, yo, this guy's like phenomenal. Like,
yeah, he's great.
The best I've ever heard, yo. The breakdown movies, yo. I've never heard nobody break down like their movies like this, yo. Ever.
He's one of my favorites. Definitely my top 5 for sure.
Legend.
It's a battle between him and Quentin. Even though he has a lot more work than Quentin, Quentin's movies are fucking. Yeah. They hit me different too. So like they're in a battle together. But yeah, he's great, yo.
Yeah, he's like the Tupac of movies to me, because like he makes you feel all his movies, right?
All of them.
He might not be he might not be the best selling director of all time. Like, he's not like a James Cameron or like a Steven Spielberg, like you talked about, right? Yeah. Where his movies are like the biggest blockbusters ever, but like the movies he does make, man, it resonates with you, right? And it's like a timeless movie. Like, you can watch those. Like, I can go back and watch Goodfellas today, and it's still relevant and still good,
and love it just as much.
Yeah, absolutely.
100%.
Yeah, because like I said, it's not the movie like Spielberg or Lucas. You know, they're more of action pack or fantasy. You know what I mean? Like, you can fall in love with some characters, but the dialogues are not that great for me. Like, I'm not a big Star Wars fan. I know a lot of people are gonna be like, "What? Star Wars is great." Yeah. For you, but I'm not a big Star Wars fan. I didn't fall in love with the characters most people did, but this guy like makes you fall in love with characters, even when they're fucking disgusting human beings. Do you understand what I mean? Like, disgusting human beings, and you're like, damn, you're rooting for him, yo. You're rooting for the bad guy.
It helps a lot, like having like the best actors of all times, like in all your movies. You know, like he got to pick from so many great ones, bro. Yo, you saw Leo like from way back in the day as a kid in a movie with Roberto, and then Roberto telling him about him, and then him just appearing in all these classics through the years, all the way into 2023. Yo, let's go, yo. Martin is the man, yo.
What he's known for though too is just like what No Drink was saying, is like the reason why you resonate with him so much more than like those other movies, because the other movies are sci-fi movies, right? So it's like it's hard for you to get into a movie that you know is not real, right? Star Wars is never gonna happen, right? That's not a real world that we're gonna ever live in. Right, but his movies are like actual events, and like it's based off of true events, right? Of things that you can actually see in those different time periods that actually happened, right? Or could happen. Even if they're doing fictional parts, it's stuff that can actually happen in the world, right?
Yeah, you can resonate
people
with
do.
Yeah, you
exactly.
Can resonate with
That's why the characters are a lot more in depth, because now you can put yourself in their shoes, because it's real, right? It's a real world. Versus like if you're watching a Marvel movie, you know you're not gonna become a superhero. You're not gonna get powers and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So those characters, even though people love those movies, and I'm one of them, like a huge Marvel fan, right? But it's different with how you react to those characters versus somebody that you know that you watch how they grew up in New York, and you see how they interact and how they became that character and stuff like that. It's a different, like the development and the growth of that character you fall in love with, right? Because it's somebody that you could see yourself doing, or you know somebody that has been that character, right? Or you know somebody like that, right? It's more relatable. It makes it like way more of a touching movie.
Well, it's real with fiction. It's nonfiction and fiction. You know what I mean? It's just, it's definitely a big difference. I think one of my favorite sci-fi movies got to be Back to the Future. Who directed that? Like, who made that? Like,
Steven Spielberg, right?
Yeah, Steven Spielberg. Yep.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure the Back to the Future is Steven Spielberg. Spielberg is another one that's like,
so that Back to the Future, man, I love that movie. Yo.
Yes, Spielberg. And like I'm not knocking Spielberg or George Lucas, because obviously they fucking make great films still. Like, but man, they don't make them like Martin does, yo.
Yo. Martin is one of a kind, that's for certain. When it comes to like mobster movies, especially, like he brought the Italian culture to the forefront, like for years, bro. Like, it's so good too, man. Like every movie, like Goodfellas, everything, I always wanted to be a mobster, bro. Every time I watched it, I wanted to live there, I wanted to be that, you know what I mean? It was like it was so easy to be a mobster in those movies, is because like the big guys, they just like move a finger and somebody's done. You know what I mean? Like it's crazy. Getting that type of respect and that type of love and that type of fear.
For Back to the Future, though, that Steven Spielberg was the executive producer for that movie, but the director was actually Robert Zemeckis.
Shout out to him, yo.
Yeah, he's the one that actually directed the movie. So he also did like Forrest Gump,
3 of them.
Flight. Yeah, he's directed a good amount of movies.
Yo, that's funny how they all got their own styles as directors and screenwriters. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like they all got their own like certain style. You know, I love like Martin because he just seems like he's like just open to everything, bro. Like this dude is like he's ready to give you something that you're not ready for. You know?
Yeah,
what
Wolf of Wall Street was like a movie that I'm not seeing him making because that's more of like a dark comedy. And what comedies does this guy make?
Yeah.
None.
Yeah.
He doesn't make comedy movies. You know what I mean? You might find a funny scene in the movie, but
No, a lot of funny scenes. Yo,
Yeah.
Bessie like was funny as shit.
yeah, it was funny, but it was more of a serious movie. Like
Yeah.
Wolf of Wall Street was a straight up comedy.
Yeah.
Was a straight up comedy, yo.
Yeah. When we heard him explain it, like you can see why, because he was talking about how like it's not a mobster movie because there's no mob in that movie, right?
Yeah.
He's basically like that's how he made the movie different. He's like, well, I kind of already did this movie, but like now you take away the mob scene of it and you take away all that, and now it's just like an actual businessman that just kind of went crazy with power. Then you can kind of see his take on it, right? He's like, that's what I wanted to do different. It almost seems like every time like people try to put him into a box, he wants to get out of the box and do something completely different. Right?
Yeah. And he does it every time.
Movie. Yeah, that Silence movie looks fire.
Yeah, I'm gonna watch that. Well, I'm gonna watch the Killers of the Flower Moon first.
Yeah, me too. I think I'm gonna try to like get to that ASAP, yo, because that one looks like super duper official.
Yeah.
I feel like the Silence, I'll probably find that somewhere. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's 2016. It's probably somewhere.
Yeah, for certain. But thank you for joining us on My Catalog. We just got done watching the iconic man himself, Martin Scorsese, and he's a brilliant man. Like I don't know what to say, man. Like just the greatest. You know what I mean? I don't know like how else you would explain this man. He's absolutely brilliant. He's been doing this for like decades upon decades, like probably over 60 years. He's been around like the best actors of all times. He was raised with Roberto De Niro, which I never knew before. So this was amazing. Thank you, Remarkable, for showing this to us. This was like, man, yo, his movies are like wine, you know? They only age well, you know what I mean? Like they're great, man.
Now the big question is who's gonna direct his movie?
Yeah,
right?
You know what I mean?
His Telltale. Yeah, you got to do a autobiography, right, of his life, because it's crazy. Like even listen to him talk about like the way he grew up in his childhood before he even started making movies, right? Like that is a movie on its own. Like this guy's you might have to do a series with this guy.
Yeah,
exactly. You might not be able to do a movie because he's lived so much in different types of life. Like this guy needs a series. Like
he literally lived through the decades.
Yeah,
big decades too.
Like you know how we grow up. Like not a lot changed besides technology.
Yeah,
this guy's seen shit change. He's seen food change. He's seen fast food restaurants come in.
Everything, bro.
He's seen that. This dude's lived through decades.
He needs a series, right? You can't do even if it's a 3-hour movie like his movies, right? 3 hours not long enough. You need to give this guy like a 10-part series, right? Every episode for each different decade that this guy's lived.
Yeah,
it's that good.
Yeah. 100%.
Yeah, imagine the actors that they'd get for it, man. Because everybody's gonna want to jump on to do that, right? Because look at the people he's already worked with. Like, he's only gonna get the best. You only got to give him the best of the best, right?
100%.
To tell it. And the best thing I got out of this though is not even like the movies. Like I already knew this guy was a genius, and the movie part, like I already knew a lot of this. The biggest thing I got from this is like how stand-up of a dude this guy is.
Yeah,
like, himself. Like I didn't realize how dope, like listening to him talk and explain how he did the movie made it seem like he was more of a genius than I even thought he was. And then on top of that, like I love like his person. Like even if he didn't make movies and just hearing him talk, he sounds like a stand-up dude. Like this dude looked like he's like super real.
Yeah, he's solid.
I love it.
Yeah. And it's crazy because like the way he talks, like you can make sense of the movies he has made. You know what I mean? Like they fit so perfect. You go like, oh, I see now. You know what I mean? Yeah, it's dope, man. This was great. Guys, don't forget to like, subscribe, share, tell everybody about My Catalog. Until next time.
Peace.
up like Edward Scissorhands.